Hi there. Welcome to the King's Court. I am your host, King Roberto. Thanks for joining me here. This is episode 11 of our podcast. Episode 11 is a season finale for season 1. The title of this podcast is going to be Long Live the King. That's right, Long Live the King, because what better way to wrap up a season of podcasting for the first timer than have an episode that kind of reflects and recaps and goes back and looks and sees how things have gone here. I mean, when I started this thing, I have my story of how I became king, but it's a joke. King Roberto, honestly, it started long before I had this podcast, long before we lived in this house, long before any of this was even reality, because it started with my son when we were playing Modern Warfare, back when he was in elementary school, and I wanted to engage with him, and video games were the thing, right? So King Roberto was born in that area, but it just kind of grew, right? Between, the kids growing up, the BBQs, the elk hunts, faith and family, it started to kind of mean something real. And all of a sudden, my kids are like, King Roberto. And that's where it kind of started from. And that's the basis of the podcast, along with, one of the kids at the chili cook-off saying, you should do a podcast. You'd be funny. If you did that, then this experiment just kind of took its own legs here. It's been a couple years after that, but it's been a fun little journey that I've been on. So welcome to the season finale of season 1. I went back and forth whether we're going to have a season finale or if it was going to be seasons or not, or just kind of continuous. And I came to the realization that a season finale is not a bad thing. It gives me a chance to kind of reset, look back, learn, kind of come up with new stuff to go over in a new season. And the timing is right, okay? It's the holiday season coming up, and a break is not a bad thing. There's a lot going on in life, and a little bit of time off from the podcast, kind of set that to the side and regroup and regather myself, is not a bad idea. I mean, I started with a mic and a trailer and no plan, and somehow it turned into a kingdom. And that's kind of the coolest thing about this whole thing looking back, is I never thought that I would get, we're over 80, 90 listeners, downloads of the podcast now. So it's pretty cool to think about. 90 people have wanted to hear what I have to say. And this is it started out going as, what do I want to be? Ridiculous stories and a lot of fun, and everything else is kind of morphed into a little bit of a legacy, telling my story of my life and different sides of me from that different people see, from work to camp to family to other stuff, and the outdoor stuff. And then, it's just turned into my story, and it doesn't have a niche. It didn't start with one. It doesn't have one today, other than kind of a storytelling niche, I guess you could say. And part of what I've learned is that it doesn't necessarily need a niche. You look at all the podcasts out there, they've got stories. They're based on, true crime or, ghost encounters or there are some, believe me, there are some naughty ones out there that my wife listens to, and I can't repeat them, but there are some wild ones out there, and that is not where I want to go, but they're out there if you are into that kind of crazy stuff. And it's kind of, been fun to live this thing out, because the rise to the throne, like I said, it was just my own little silly story. It was a joke. And it took a leap of faith to put myself out there on this podcast for random people to listen to or watch on YouTube. Yeah, and you open yourself up to criticism and judgment, and I was happy to do so because part of the fun of this for me is learning and growing from it, and how can I do something better. One of my long-standing goals is to try to be the best version of me that I can be. And if you're watching this on YouTube, you can see I'm doing all right. If you're listening on the radio, or man, I don't know if anybody listens on the radio to this thing. They probably listen on their phones or something, or an app, or maybe on their computer at work. I don't think they're listening on the radio, though. I guess unless you Bluetooth into your radio in the car, and then you might be listening on the radio. But anyways, it's been fun. And looking back where these started from, I mean, the torn quad tendon offered some fun times. And through that process and doing this podcast and having a torn quad and having to recover, go through the steps, and it's a painfully slow process. I mean, I was excited this week because I got released from my knee brace officially. I've been in and out of it, but officially out of the knee brace was last week. And I saw the PT guy, doctor, and Dr. Moore, who did the surgery, said you can start jogging, and my PT doctor's like, no, you're not going to jog. You can barely walk. So but it's a goal. It's something to work to. And I was able to do some exercises with my legs finally the last week. And I did a leg extension that started at 15 pounds. And I don't know if you do leg extensions or not, but if you do, you know that 15 pounds is not a lot. I mean, my leg extensions, I was up at, before the injury, 110 pounds or so was a good leg extension rep for me. And I'm on 15 pounds, and it hurt like a son of a gun. And this is a good example of the patience that it's taken to get through this, because it's hard for me not to want to jump ahead and skip steps, because I know where I want to go. I know the instructions of how to get there. It's just a matter of getting there. And that's been a fun little royal recovery to share with everybody, and my stupid story of how it happened. But hopefully somebody got a laugh out of that. I mean, looking back at it now, I laugh at it. It hurt like you wouldn't believe it hurt when it happened. But there was the ketamine on the ambulance ride. That was entertaining. I entertained myself with the ambulance staff, the EMT who was in the truck with us, and we got some laughs out of that. My wife is still mad at this day that she didn't get to experience the entire King Roberto on ketamine, but that's all right. And we've gone back through this podcast episodes, and it's kind of taken a little bit of an arc. You had the recovery there that I was saying. You got the building the empire, which kind of talked a little bit about my leadership style and teamwork that I impart on people around me. Faith in the court, my belief system, and what keeps me grounded, and my this is it, right? He's watching you all the time. So what would Jesus do? Those kind of questions. And then the wild chapters, the hunts, the stories, the college days looking back. I mean, it's all kind of fun to rehash it and share those stories, because I don't share those. I know that I don't share those stories with everybody who probably needs to hear them. I mean, we were talking. What I don't want to happen is I'm going to be gone one day. I mean, because it's a fact of life. We're all going to die, right? We're all going to die for whatever reason. As humans, we don't want to talk about that stuff. But the fact of the matter is, one day I'll be gone. And I want my family to know the stories of me, what made me me. That's a big reason that I'm doing this. And I like sharing it. But I mean, they get to see a little bit of the silly side of King Roberto too, right? The kids, they know dad, and my wife knows her husband. And, to some extent, you can get past the facade when you're that close with somebody. But this is kind of the behind the scenes look of King Roberto. And some of it's just silly and ridiculous. And I'm always looking for that moment that makes you want to say, you know, great googly moogly, or something like that. Or you know, if you're watching this on YouTube, you're just watching and saying, oh my God, what is he doing? It's hard to convey a visual through a audio media. But I mean, I got my Colts beanie on tonight. I got the shades. I saw that shirt with Jesus on it. And I got the crown, the necklace rocking tonight. So we are closing out season 1 in style with this episode 11. So there's nothing unkingly about what's going on tonight. But part of the thing with this podcast, as it turns out, is as I told the stories, as I came up with the ideas, I found myself realizing that the King's Court, it started as a leap of faith, just sheer belief in myself and confidence that I could pull it off. But in reality, the King's Court, what makes it so awesome is the community. It's my community. It's my friends. It's the people that I hold near and dear to me. Through everything that I'm doing, to be honest with you, it's not just the podcast, but in life in general, that makes the King's Court so cool. But yeah, the listeners, the family, I know my family's listening out there, and they have been some of the biggest supporters of this little experiment. Because like I said, I'm not a person who likes to kind of half-ass anything. I want to get it done, and I want to do it to the best of my abilities. Now, there is no doubt that going into this podcast experiment, my abilities were somewhere between 0 and not very much. I know that I'm pretty good at public speaking, a little bit of impromptu speaking. I did that at my mom's funeral and did a eulogy there for her. And that was my first kind of adult experience in public speaking in front of a lot of people. And I did all right. That was a particularly poignant moment in my life when we lost mom. But you know, that was a family moment. And those moments are what I want to share my part of that story about. And looking out, and I couldn't do all that without, you know, some strength from above. But as I was saying in the last podcast, there's other pillars of strength that are in my life. You take my kids. You know, I wouldn't be able to, if they weren't so supportive, or if the feedback from them was like, Dad, you are really bad at this podcast thing. You probably need to stick with your day job, or something like that. And my son-in-law has been pretty good about it, to be honest with you. He's a deputy for the county, and he gives me good feedback and tells me blast the podcast so all the neighbors can hear it. And I appreciate that, because that expands the listener base, right? It gets more people hearing what the King has to say. You know, my other son-in-law, he's pretty new to the family. I'm not sure if he's into the podcast thing, but my daughter says that it plays on the TV screen because she does the YouTube thing, and my grandson gets to see King Roberto talking on the television. So I'm pretty sure that 1-year-old doesn't even know what he's watching, but thinks it's pretty cool. When he's, I don't know, 10, 11, he might look back at it and say, what was happening 10 years ago? And you can look back on this podcast and say, you know, 10 years ago, your grandpa was talking about you on a podcast, Robbie. So there you go. And I will say it was pretty funny. He had the first birthday this last weekend, and bless him. The first birthdays, I remember them when my kids were little, and they are big deals. They are 100% big deals. Wouldn't make anything less of it. But looking back now, I can say that the first birthday was more about mom and dad than the baby, and all the friends and getting them all together and celebrating them. But yeah, if you've had kids and experienced that first birthday. It's pretty much a treat. We did learn that his name is Robert with 2 B's at the birthday. Had no idea that it was Robert with 2 B's until the birthday happened. For whatever reason, I thought it was named after me and spelled like my name, but nope, not King Roberto with 1 B. He's King Robert with 2 B's. So, yeah, there is that part of it, but super supportive throughout this whole process with everything that's been going on. And my dad, I know he's heard about the podcast now. He can't figure out how to play it yet. And I'm not going to show him because this podcast is the dumbest thing that you will listen to today. I guarantee you this is a waste of your time, but I appreciate you listening with everybody else out there. And my wife, of course, without her, telling me, yeah, go lock yourself in a room and talk to yourself for 30 minutes, 35 minutes, whatever you got to do to make yourself feel good, sweetheart. That's all you. Couldn't do it without him. If you've ever been mentioned in this show, congratulations. You're officially a part of the royal history. I got to tell you, that is something to be proud of. I mean, everybody's going to know my friend Jason after this one because his stories and my stories, the shenanigans that we did when we were kids, don't ever stop. And we just, even last year, we went snowmobiling up at his cabin up towards Tahoe. And it's the same thing, even on the snow. He's still a terrible snowmobile rider. I got to tell you, he's really bad at it, but it's fun to try. I ended up getting stuck more than he did because I was following him and he doesn't know how to ride a snowmobile. So he would do something stupid and then I would have to try to go around him or help him, and in the process get myself stuck. But that's just the way it goes when you're riding the snowmobiles. So this podcast, I have said it for the last several episodes, it's a space for stories, laughter, and legacy. The stories are my stories, but if anybody listening has a story that they want to share or that they think would be a great addition to a podcast, for the next season, we are going to be looking at for guests, and it would be awesome to have you come on and tell your story and work it into the podcast here. So it'd be fun to share that with somebody. And what's in the next season, right? People are wondering what's coming up. Well, I had one of my friends listen to the first couple episodes, and the first episode he was like, yeah, it was all right. The second episode, he loved it. He's on a plane. He was traveling. He said, I'm dying laughing here because you traded a dead guy in your fantasy baseball league when you were in high school. And I did. I will say, that was the trade of a lifetime. I have never heard a story about anybody else who traded a dead guy in a fantasy baseball, football, any other kind of fantasy league where you're the manager of the team. You can't even do it in Madden. You can't even do it in Madden. You cannot trade dead people. But I had the trade pulled off. I had it signed and sealed, and I delivered to the commissioner, and it got vetoed. And he promised me, he said, if you can ever trade a dead player for a live player, I will not veto that trade. And I won't allow it to be vetoed because that is just history in the making right now. Yeah, right there. And it was history in the making. It got squashed from me thanks to Mr. Cavigan at the high school there. But I know he's trying to build the fantasy culture in the early 90s, and that would have ruined it for somebody for sure. If that trade would have stood, that guy would have been like, dude, I just traded for a dead guy. What the heck? Give me my player back. That was a great episode looking back, and I'm hoping to have not a lot of those because I can get lost in sports, and I've told people this before. I can get lost in sports, talking about sports all day. And I got to tell you, I'm on a roll right now with the DFS stuff. Hockey, you ever bet on hockey? That's a lot of fun. Hockey's been my friend lately. It's not being my friend right now, this minute as this podcast is going on. So I don't know if the hockey gods are deciding to stop smiling on me, but whatever. Coming up in episode 2, back to episode 2, we're hoping to have some guests on. I did get that fella who liked the episode 2, said, I'll be a guest. I'll figure out. I got to figure out how to make it call in though. I mean, that's part of the challenges of this podcast. And what makes it so stupidly fun is the challenges. I didn't have this set up when I started, so I had to figure out what's a good microphone, what are the good headphones, what's the good stuff to put together in this. I don't know if I'm doing it right, but it's working for me. So I'm going to say that that's the right way to do it. If it's working for me, that's the right way to do it. I don't know if it'll be right for you, but that's working for me. So, and I got to say, tonight I'm probably the best dressed that I've ever been for a podcast tonight. I mean, I look good. So if you're not watching this on YouTube, then I'm sorry, but I look good. I'm rocking it tonight. So, because yes, I'm recording this one in the evening, and it's the ridiculous daylight savings happened the other day, so it's dark at 5 o'clock. So anytime I get home from work, it's dark. I leave when it's dark. I get home when it's dark. I don't see my house except for the weekends, so it's all dark. And episode 2 probably be about the same time of year, but after the holidays, is episode 2 or season 2. Sorry, not episode 2. Season 2 will kick off back after the holidays, so it'll be after the New Year's. That'll be 2026 if you're counting. It'll probably be in January that the next episode drops for the first episode for season 2. And then we'll see how long season 2 goes. But hoping to get some friends on it, some different guests, few surprises, and maybe, some bourbon-fueled wisdom from the Lair, right? This is the modified Lair. Let's not forget. The actual Lair is the fifth wheel trailer, the King's Lair, and that is put up for right now for maintenance reasons. It's not where we're recording from right now, but that's all right because this little room is doing just fine. As we move on, though, I encourage you to send me feedback. If you're family and you see me and you're listening, give me feedback. Tell me what you want more of, or what you think, or tell me something. Give me any little tidbits. But I'm still figuring this out, but I'm having a lot of fun doing it, and that's the fact of the matter, and that's why I'm still doing this, because it's fun. It's it's me talking to myself a lot, and I pretend that there's somebody in the room with me that I'm having a conversation with, but this is a very one-sided conversation, isn't it? Because you don't get a word in. You don't get a word in unless you send me an email that has words, or a text message or DM on the Instagram or X or YouTube. And I got, my social media skills suck. I'll tell you that right now. I am not very good at it. And I apologize if you're on one of those things and you're looking for more Roberto's social media interactions. I'm really bad at it, but that's one of the things I'm going to work on. I got to reach out and capture more people and get them to listen to the podcast. That's my goal. I want to expand the court. I want to grow the court and make the circle a little bit bigger. So that's the plan, anyways. We're doing all right on time. Don't want to take too much time of your busy day here listening to this crappy podcast, but let's go to a royal decree. This is number 11 because we do a royal decree at every podcast. There's a royal decree, and this is going to be the season closer. So here you go. This is it. The royal decree number 11 for the season closer. In the king's court, the crown isn't the reward. It's the reminder to keep showing up. And that is 100% true. For me anyways, in this whole podcast experiment, is that there's been times that I've wanted to take a break or haven't had time to record it, but I've given it the priority that it needs, and I've seen it through to the end. I did miss 1 week recording because I recorded it and it was a terrible podcast, but I re-recorded it, published it, and we're still up and running. So, but yeah, the crown is the consistency. It's the gratitude, it's the responsibility. And my wife has said since the day I met her, I love me a stable man. So, I'm a stable guy for the most part. And Let's not confuse that. She's not saying I love me a stable of men. No, she loves herself a stable man, and that's me. So yeah, let's looking back and dissecting the decree a little bit. And the other part of that is the leadership isn't a finish line; it's a daily decision, and that is something that I believe in. It's hard for me. There are moments in life that I can take off the crown and not be the tip of the sword. I don't have to be at the head of the line all the time. And that is something that I very rarely do. But when I do get the opportunity to do that, it is nice to just let somebody else do the work and relax a little bit. And I enjoy that. So I get to experience that mostly at home with my wife here, but there's a lot of leadership that is woven into my life just because of the nature of me being me. And I will say part of the season 2 stuff is, we might talk about being that firstborn of 3. And there's a great little Instagram guy that does, three siblings growing up and how it is to be the first one, the middle one, or the youngest one. That'd be a fun little story arc that I've been kicking around. So for season 2, that might be fun. But anyways, we're going to wrap this thing up by saying, long live the king and long live everyone who's built this court with me. So I couldn't do it without everybody listening. This has been a fun little experiment. It's been, this has been season 1 of the King's Court, right? So stories from the Lair, laughter from the heart, and few royal screw ups along the way. And I couldn't have made it through without that listener base listening. And they might not listen to the whole thing, but I mean, it gives me feedback when I publish these things, and it tells me how many people download it. And if you're going to take the time to download it and listen to even 5 minutes of me talking, then that's more than I could ask for, more than I could ever have thought that I would have achieved here. So my mind is a little bit blown by that. But if you've listened to more than 1 or 2 episodes and you're still here for the season finale, hey, thanks for being part of this first chapter. I can't wait to see where this goes and what we build next in this kingdom here. So anyways, if you see me out and about, say hello. If you've heard the podcast and you see me out and about, let me know that you heard it. Let me know that you listened to it. If you hated it, that's fine. If you liked it, that's cool too. Feedback is always appreciated, good, bad, or ugly. You can find me on Instagram, X. You can email me, therealkingroberto@gmail.com, and also on YouTube. If you like this, hit the subscribe button wherever you're at or wherever you're listening. If this is your first one and you just tuned in for the last episode of season 1 and you like it, hit the subscribe button. There will be a season 2. It will be cool. It will be fun. At least for me, it's going to be cool and fun. Might not be for you because you take a half hour out of your day to listen to this terrible, terrible podcast, but you're awesome for doing it, and I couldn't do it without you. So until next time, keep your stories wild, keep your circle strong, appreciate the people in your circle, and keep your crown just a little crooked. This is King Roberto calling it the end of season 1, saying goodbye, and I'll see you in season 2. See ya.